Okay, today we're going to be doing algebra, and we're going to be talking about variables and expressions. Make sure that you are writing this in your note packet. All right, so here we go. Algebra is a math language, so write this down. While I'm writing, you're writing, that uses symbols, operations, and numbers to describe different situations. The next vocabulary word that I'd like to talk about is variable. Go ahead and write this down. Variable. What is a variable? Is it a symbol usually represented by a letter? So you've probably heard that maybe from a friend or from a sibling that there are letters in math. Well, we're going to get started on that. So it's a symbol usually represented by a label that represents an unknown number, and that's really important because we don't know what that number is, okay? So I do want to mention here that there are some variables when you have to write a variable and you're choosing the variable, try not to choose these ones because the O looks like a 0 or L could look like a 1, right? We're trying to avoid different things. The Z could look like a 2, the S could look like a 5, and the T could look like a addition sign. So just try to avoid these if you can. All right, so the next vocabulary word that I'd like to discuss is algebraic expressions, and they are expressions that contain at least one variable. Remember, that's the letter. And at least one operation. Okay, so if you're looking here, right, this is an algebraic expression because it's got a variable, it's got operations in there. And the last, we're going to talk about multiplying. I guess not quite the last. Multiplying with algebraic expressions. We're no longer going to use that X symbol for multiply because we're now going to be using letters, right? So letter X usually means something else. So this means 5 times X. Also, you can rewrite each of these. So this one is 5 and then parentheses X. Both of them in parentheses. These also mean 5 times X. And also this would be the mastery level to write 5 times X, right? It's just 5X. And that's really easy. So please try to, if it is 5 times a variable or a number times whatever the number is times a variable, please try to write it this way. The last vocabulary word is substitution. So that means putting values where letters are. So we are going to do this example 1. Evaluate 16 plus b squared. Okay, now equals b equals 5 where. So the first thing that you have to do is substitute the variable, remember that's the letter, for the assigned amount. So it's like we're putting, this is like a box here, and you're going to put that 5 in that box there. So you're going to write everything the same. So I'm going to write 16 plus b, but b is 5, so I'm going to write 5 and then squared. Now we're going to do GEMDAS. Okay, so we're going to use the orders of operation. So in the orders of operation, there's no grouping, but there is exponents in here, and there is addition, so none of that. All right, so we're going to do the exponents first. So this exponent is 5 to the second power, meaning it's 5 times 5. And then I'm going to write plus 16. So what is 5 times 5? Well, that is 25 plus 16, and that's 41. And you get your final answer. All right, example number 2. We're going to substitute x equals 8 and for x, so I'm going to, instead of write x, I'm going to put 8, so 8 squared minus, and then I'm going to, instead of writing that y, I'm going to write the 3, so it would be 3 cubed. So let's go ahead and do 8 squared. That means 8 times 8 minus, and then what is 3 cubed? That means 3 times 3 times 3. So now let's go ahead and solve that. So 8 times 8 is 64. And then we have minus 3 times 3 is 9 times 3, right, is 27. So 64 minus 27 is 37 is your final answer. All right, let's go to example 3. We have 6, remember this is times x. So I'm going to put a parentheses. You can put the dot if you want to, but you don't have to. So when I see a variable, sometimes I like to just put my parentheses there. And I'm going to substitute in 1/2. So I have 6 times 1/2. So orders of operation, let's go ahead and multiply. So we have 6 over 1. I'm going to change that to, because I need to multiply fractions. So I'm going to change it to over 1 times 1/2. Then I'm going to multiply my numerators together. So 6 times 1 is 6. And 1 times 2 is 2. So 6 halves is actually just 3. So now you're going to try example 4, 5, and 6 and 7. And then you're going to be checking in and making sure that you got those right. All right, for example 4, you should have inputted the 3 in for the m. Then this says 5 times m, not 53. This means multiplication. So 5 times m plus 4. So 5 times 3 is 15, plus 4 is 19. Let's go to example 5. So you should have inputted the 1/2 into here. Now this means that I am going to square the 1/2. It means 1/2 times 1/2, and that's times 4. Now I'm going to rewrite 4 as 4 over 1. Right? And I'm going to go ahead and multiply straight across. So 4 times 1 is just 4. And 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So I get 4/4, which equals 1 whole. Go ahead and do 6 and... All right, so you should have substituted the 1/5 in for the a. And then change your whole number to 10 over 1. Now we have multiplication and addition. In GEMDAS, right, the multiplication happens before the addition. So we're going to go ahead and multiply. So 10 times 1 is 10. 1 times 5 is 5. So you get 10/5 plus 7. Simplify the 10/5. That's just 2. And then you have 2 plus 7. So we did the multiplication. Now we need to do the addition, and you should have gotten 9. The next one is Callie needs to wrap a gift box that has the side lengths that are 1 foot long, 1/2 foot long, sorry. Use the expression 6 times s squared, where s represents the length of the side. Find the surface area of the box he is wrapping. Draw a diagram, and then write your answer in square feet. So go ahead and try to write that diagram, right? And the diagram I would use is something like this. Okay, so this was like an unfolded cube that has 6 sides. All right, go ahead. All right, you should have labeled 1/2 foot by 1/2 foot, and then this should have gotten you 1/4 of a foot squared. Now each one is 1/4 foot squared, so I'd have 6 of them. That's why it's multiplied by 6. So I'm going to go ahead and input this into the formula. So I have 6 times s squared is 1/2 times squared, 1/2 squared, which is 1/2 times 1/2 times 6. And 1/2 times 1/2, I'm going to go ahead and do that, is 1/4 times 6. I'm going to go ahead and make that over 6 over 1. And then you get 6/4, which is equal to 1 2/4, which is equal to 1 1/2 feet squared. All right, go ahead and do your check for your understanding.